Just behind this door is the office of the president of Burt Blackerack Productions. And here, seated at his desk, we find the boss, Amani K. Smith. This is the boss's boss.
Okay. Are you?
Oh yeah, back once again, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. This is AronMSound. What's happening, Amani? We got Amani Burt Blackerack on the line. Give us 1 second. I'm going to bring up your title card. It's a Burt Blackerack tell-all. Is it? We'll find out. Stand by. Just got to change the channel. Tune into your personal vibration.
Okay.
So what you might not know is that there's a guy named Burt Blackerack.
So we're all going to learn how to touch vinyl, scratch vinyl, possibly mix vinyl.
He doesn't just teach you how to put the music together. He actually does it himself and does it for some of the bigger shows that you're probably familiar with. Currently, the music director on The Wonder Years. And this guy's arc, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly the kind of thing I talk about constantly. The kind of concept that reminds us on a daily that if you put in the effort, if you put in the work, if you have the vision, nothing gets in your way. Much less if you use what you have at your disposal. The world opens up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, so glad to introduce you, if you don't already know, to the one and the only Amani K. Smith, aka Burt Blackerack. Stand by. How's everybody doing? I'm AronMSound, and this is the show known as Lookup, where I interject myself into a conversation that, well, nobody asked me to be a part of, and by way of which I take it places most people don't expect it to go. And today, I'm really proud to bring you quite an esteemed colleague of mine, a guy who knows more about music than most people ever could wish to know, and has the ability to pull tracks and dig unlike anybody else I've ever seen, pretty much. I'm so proud to bring to you the man known as Burt Blackerack, aka Amani Smith, who's on the line with us here. Amani, can you hear us now?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
I can. You're here loud and clear. I'm so glad you could join, man. And thanks for working it out with us. If you were here with us earlier, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we had some technical difficulties, so I restarted the stream. So the other one may have disappeared for you, but we have a newfound start today. So let me get Amani's glyph here a little bit bigger, because it looks like you're down in the corner, Amani. And
Is that on me?
No, that's on me. That's on me. I just gotta just enlarge, enhance By the way, bold pink. Bold pink. You are a bold human. So, Amani, Bert, I should say, welcome to the show. So glad you could be here. How's things going for you today?
Pretty good, man. It's LA and it's like, 75. I wish it was 76.
True, true. The breeze is almost blowing too hard, but it's still okay. I understand.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So, how have you
Yeah.
always been an LA native, Bert?
Yeah, born and raised. Born and
Don't you have
raised.
Canadian
my
background
parents-
though?
I have a little Canadian background. Yes, I've got a huge Canadian background. That's where like all my family lives.
Okay.
So I've got it's my mom's side of the family that's all from Canada, and we do the family reunion every 2 years, and there's like 600 people. So yeah, I've got a pretty big family out in Canada.
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 Yeah.
So what? I mean, where does that stem from? Are they whereabouts did your family enter into Canada? Let's go deep into the lore of Black Rack.
Well, my mom is from Hamilton, and her family, if you go back a couple generations, were slaves in Maryland.
Wow.
And
What time period would this be?
two of them, talk about the 1850, right around 18, maybe a little earlier than 1850. And two of the brothers escaped on the Underground Railroad and made it up to Canada. And they were able to forge whole new lives. They changed their last names to be, so if the slave catchers were there, instead of saying, no, my name is Holland, they changed their name to Howard, or vice versa, Howard to Holland.
Wow.
So all of my mom's side of the family that comes from that branch are from the Holland tree, and then from there it branches out into like 5 sisters or 5 siblings from that family, and we're all in each our own little subset. So I'm under the Eliatha subset. So Eliatha's bloodlines come down to mine, but there's 5 subsets, and our family it's just massive.
Wow.
It's amazing. They had like the first black-owned feed store, for horses feed and barn stuff out in Oakville and Hamilton. My grandfather on my mom's side, her father is a first black civil judge in Canada for immigration.
Holy mackerel, man. So your family was really advantageous, or they were tenacious and educated. I mean, would you say that they were explorers of a sort?
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, absolutely. My ancestors, my mom's grandparents, absolute explorers. And then my mother is an explorer because she moved here to have a child with me. My dad is from Virginia, and then he went up to Canada and met my mom, and then they moved out to LA and had me, and created their whole entity in the music business and created a whole life. But it's because they wanted to explore, and they're like, I know there's something better.
Wow.
That taught me, like, hey, there could be something better. Don't stop exploring.
That's amazing, man. And tell us about your mom first, because your dad, you can look up your dad. You can find your dad out there in the world. So when you talk about him, people will be able to just Wikipedia and such. But your mom is more of a hidden, important figure that I'd like you to delve into a little bit more and give us a little bit of her background and family and such, because I find that very fascinating.
My mom is one of 7 children, and she happens to be the oldest. And when she was 3 years old, a really cute picture of her when she was 3 years old, she still hadn't met her father because her father was in war, in World War II, so he had just come back. So from that time that he came back, they had another daughter within 2 years. So at that time, my mom was 5 years old, and she's actually helping take care of the kids. So there kept coming another kid. So she found herself caretaking a lot, and she was, obviously really good at it. But they all made their own dresses. They had to make their own. Outfits. In their stocking for Christmas, they'd get an orange, or maybe a jar of olives, which is a tradition that is still passed on by us all of my cousins get jars of olives, and I said, "Oh my God, you know where that comes from?" And nobody put two and two together.
Where does that come from? I mean, as far as like is it from?
I don't know.
I mean, because I'm guessing
know.
that's a sign that maybe your family at that time didn't have a lot, or maybe that was just something more cherished, or is that something passed on to them? I mean,
They definitely didn't have a lot, and I think maybe that was something that was just maybe they liked olives or something, or they were affordable, or they could figure it out. I would wonder why. I remember my mom told me once she got a washboard for her birthday or for Christmas. She was so excited, so now she could wash clothes.
that's amazing.
So that was like
Wow.
that's the extent of it. But at the same time, you know, so she was a kid. She was helping raise kids. Her father was pretty difficult. I'll be judicious. He was very, very difficult. And by the time she got to her like final year of school, she'd gotten a job, or the year after she got out of school, she got a job, and she was working at the phone company. And she was the only black person working at the phone company. And I know at some point she was making like X amount of, I don't know, 50 cents an hour or whatever it was, which was like on the higher end of the salary. But
Wow.
she didn't realize the only reason why she got hired is because there was a black female union or like a church group, and it was black females, and they were behind the scenes pressing the phone company to start integrating and start hiring more black people.
Wow.
So when she found that out years later, she was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. So it's been the same struggle then as it is now, inclusionary, you know, diversity, equity, you know, all of that stuff. So
What year would that have
from
been?
there,
Like,
all
what time period do you think that would have been?
60, late 50s,
Oh, wow. Wow.
late 50s, 62? Yeah, maybe 62. And I think that being the first black I think being the only black where they lived, my mom didn't have any other black kids in her school until her sister came, who was 3 years younger than her. She was an actress. Like everyone in that family, my mom, the brother, the three sisters, they're all just freaking gorgeous. Just smoking hot. And my mom was acting. She was singing in plays. She was doing theater. So while she was working, she was doing that, and she was really good at it.
In LA?
And that's where she initially met. In Canada, I apologize.
Canada. No,
in
you're
Canada.
okay.
Yeah, so all of this is in Canada.
Oh, wow.
And,
Whereabouts exactly? So is
when
this
she-
in BC at this time, or is this, I mean, where are we at in Canada at this time?
Toronto. Toronto.
Okay. Where there's actually a
Toronto,
very
yeah.
large theater scene. And if you're talking about the 60s, that would have been like probably its peak, for goodness sake.
It was pretty good there in like the late 60s all the way through the early 70s out there. It was even the early 60s it was good. Yeah, you're right. And through those sessions she met my father and they became friends. And at some point they hooked up and said, let's go move to LA. So they weren't together like 2 or 3 years and made the decision. Like they met in like 68 or something, you know, they met in 69 and they're in LA by 71.
Wow.
They all both wanted to get out.
Now, was your mom already making...
My mom didn't.
Your mom was already making music at that point as a background singer, correct? Or as a writer?
Correct.
Which
as a
came first for
background
her? Was she writing music first? Or and by the way, what's your mom's name for the audience?
singer. She was known
If you wouldn't know.
Patricia K. Grizel
Dope.
Smith Hewling. She was married twice. So Patricia K. Smith or Patricia K. Grizel, Grizzle. She didn't write a lot. She wrote a little bit, but she was a good actress and a good singer. So she would she was good at interpreting what other people wanted her to sing. My grandmother was a classically trained opera singer.
Wow.
So they're always singing opera around the house. And
Wait, hold on a
Aunt
second. Wait.
Cass
You
was
just, don't bury the lead here. Don't bury the lead. So your grandmother, and you know, race shouldn't play a role, but in opera, it absolutely does. In what time period was your grandmother an opera singer? My grandmother was also an opera singer, but that's beside the point. I find it fascinating because of the exclusionary environment of opera in the early 20th century. There, I mean, yeah, that she was one of those folks who came up. I would gather amongst the first black opera singers. Then, man, tell me about this for a second, because that's. Let me. Here, I'll shrink down. Tell me about this. I didn't know about this, man. Hold on a second. I'm going to shrink down here and get you a little space on the screen, because that's absolutely fascinating. Yeah, tell me about her.
Yeah, she was her and her sister were their aunts were amazing musicians. Like Aunt Cass would be she was an organ player, and Aunt Cass, it's the organs that you play with your feet as well as your hands, and she's using all four limbs at the same time, and she's using her mouth to pull the drawbar out to create different sounds, because the organ has these drawbars on the top of it, and you can pull and push on them and create different tones and create different sounds while you're playing the organ. Oh,
wow.
Oh, there you go. You're back.
I'm still here. I
Hello?
dropped out my video because yours stalled out, but it hasn't come back yet. You might have to restart.
Oh, mine hasn't come back yet.
Yeah, you might have to restart your video. It's got you locked in a freeze
wait,
frame.
how about now?
That might actually. Oh, yes, sir. There you go. Now you're living and breathing with me. Yep, you're good. All right. Cool. Yeah. Now I feel like I'm having a conversation.
So can you hear me?
I can loud and clear.
So there's on my grandmother's side, there was a bunch of musicians with the Cherry Jubilee Singers, and the uncles or the great uncles that escaped. One of them sang. So they've always been in choir. They've always sang. There's always church. But I don't know why who pointed my grandmother into classical opera. It could have been her Aunt Cass, but that's where she was. And my grandmother was stunning as well. And she had a great voice, but she just didn't get a chance to use it because she married so young and just started having kids, and didn't get to tap into some of her artistic ability. She was painting when she was older, before she passed.
Wow. So she was. Wait,
I think my mom gets it from there.
She was painting. You come from an incredibly talented family. Then I'm gathering.
It's starting to seem like it, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it. I mean, like I mean, just your mom and your mom's mom, and we haven't even gotten to your dad yet. So, so how many kids did your grandmother have? I'm sorry.
It's something I take for granted sometimes. It's something that I'm like, oh wait, you don't have that? Well, that doesn't exist in your either. I'm just used to it. It's really weird. I need to be more cognizant of the magnitude of having so many amazing influences in my lineage.
Well, it sounds like you do, and it's clearly affected, you in your life, and given you outlet to these things that most people don't generally do. But okay, before we ever get to even you, because I'm going to drag it out for the audience as well, because I know you, but I want them to understand like what makes Bert Bert and why Bert is so dope in this sense. And I covered this story earlier. I'll talk about it before we get into Bert. But your mom is such a big influence in funk and publishing musicians out of LA.
Yeah, well, so then let me go there with it. So my mother was singing. She was doing some actressing. We found some old videos of her with these little small acting roles. So it's just hilarious finding her in videos with artists. But she realized, like, when I was 3 or 4 years old, she realized that as much as she liked singing and being a background singer, she just saw what was happening. She saw what was going to unfold. She saw the life of a background singer. If you've seen 20 Feet from Stardom, imagine somebody on the lower tier of that. She just didn't like any of it, but she really liked the kids. And my dad got a record deal, and I think it was the deal he got with Alan Toussaint. And
the piano player,
of course. Yeah, the piano player from New Orleans. famous. He's in the, he's pretty famous. I understand if
Yeah.
people don't know who he is, but if you look him up, he's like well revered. He's a pretty big deal. So I know my dad must have been through the moon to hear that Alan Toussaint was going to produce his first record. The equivalent would be, whether it's Jermaine Dupri or Puff or Pharrell or Dr. Dre. It's probably closer to like a Pharrell or Dr. Dre.
Wow.
Of that time period.
Yeah.
So, he gets his record deal, they get money. What the first thing he does is he goes and buys equipment. So we had one of the earlier on recording studios at our house. And so he would make his demos there. But the reason why I share this with you is because during that negotiation, the record label, Warner Brothers, was saying like, we can take care of your publishing for you. It's a hassle. And for some reason, it didn't feel right to my mother. My mother just didn't quite grasp it, and she went home, and then they came back, and my mom said, "We're starting a publishing company." My dad said, "What? You can't do that." My mom, no, we're starting a publishing company. So my mom said, "I really enjoyed raising you kids, and I really enjoyed the publishing." And so from that point on, she just really focused on publishing and the kids. And when my parents divorced, my mom came to me and asked me if I wanted to run the publishing company. And I said, yes. What is publishing? So imagine at 14 years old, you're starting to learn these little nuggets on why this is important and why that isn't important. So my mother was really
you started
groundbreaking
learning at
because
14 about publishing? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, 14. Yeah. It was when I remember when she asked, we were living in this apartment that we just moved into. And I remember where the filing cabinet was in the hallway, and we kept all of our records in this file cabinet, and the third one down had all the publishing information. Yeah, classic stuff. Yeah, so at 14, so I don't understand the concept of a master. What's a master?
Oh, explain that to the audience. Because the audience most likely has no clue what we're talking about when it comes to publishing or mastering, what that has to do with music at all.
Well, there's publishing and then there's master, and I don't want to lose this with my
No, go cook. I apologize, but yeah, I apologize for interjecting.
Nope, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Got it. So the publishing music has like a whole bunch of different pieces to it, everybody. But to make it really, really simple, whenever you hear a song, that version of the song you're hearing, that's called a master recording. So an example is if you like the Beatles song, Let It Be, and you hear the Beatles sing Let It Be, that is their master recording. They own that recording. Now, I could go record the Beatles, Let It Be, then I would own the master recording because that's my version of it. What doesn't change in that comparison is the publishing. And publishing is another half of what this whole music business is about. So while I own the master, they own the publishing. And that's a 50-50 split. The song Let It Be, the Beatles own the master and they own the publishing, so they get 100%. So I still didn't get the concept at 16, like, well, what's the master?
Yeah.
What's the master recording? I don't understand, like, what makes it any different? And then we played 2 songs, and she said, "You see that song?" I said, "Yeah, it's the same one." "Yeah, but it's a different recording. That's the master recording." I was like, "Oh, I got it." And she says, "That's very valuable. That's worth 50% of everything." So if I write a song like Beyonce with like 10 songwriters, 10 songwriters are splitting up that 50% of the pie. The master recording owner gets that 50% all to himself. So she says that's why the record companies want your masters. That's why they make these deals, is because that master collects 50% of every dollar that comes in. But you and your 5 artists in your group, you're splitting that other 50%. So then I got it, which was amazing. But so what was really amazing about my mother is that she had the foresight to leave Canada, it's a big fish in a small town kind of vibe.
Yeah.
You get really popular, which they did, and it's like there's a ceiling. So to come to LA, none of her other family members ever moved, is groundbreaking. To help my father's career flourish, and do all the amazing things he did is a testament. The fact that she wanted to move into publishing and not work, but background singing was amazing. When they divorced, she, a couple years later, decided to go back to school. So at the age of 46 or 47, she went back and got her BA, her bachelor's, her master's degree, and then her PhD.
Wow. Wow.
So
Wait,
that's
so
part
wait,
of
hold on a
why
second.
my mom
Jump back a
is like
bit, though,
is like
because,
out of control.
yeah, I mean, like, I didn't
So I
know
think
that
that answers your
portion.
question of I
Yeah, yeah.
think that answers your
But
question.
hold
So,
on, you jumped over a whole period of here in Los Angeles when your mom told your dad that it was time to start a publishing company. How did that impact things? What did they do? Who did they publish? What how did that go down?
they published their own music. Um, then you had a central hub to send all the money to. You had
Mm,
a place to send money out and send money into. And I think uh, like artists, if they don't have a publishing company, if they don't have an entity, they're just kind of writing songs and they're just putting them out there. But if you have a publishing company, then I wrote the song, I've got to put it into my publishing company. So now every time the song plays, there's a funnel and everything comes back to me. If
mm.
you don't have that publishing company, then there's nowhere really for people to pay you or to be able to track your stuff. So by having your own, you're really taking it all under your own umbrella. You're not depending on a company to do what they do best. These companies handle publishing great. They know what they're doing. But you also don't get to be involved. So if you have your own publishing company and you understand these are my songs, let me make sure that the songs are registered correctly. The songs are registered
What do
correctly.
you mean by
Then
that
once
exactly?
artists start using my songs, well, you register your songs. It's just like a patent.
Hmm.
It's like the company name. You go register your company name. You go register your driver's your car. So it's like every time I want to be credited for this song, I've got my license plate number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So every time I have a song that plays somewhere, I register it with my license plate number,
Mm.
and then it goes into this whole ethos system. And now anytime it plays, it points right to my driver's license, my driver's license plate, points to that, and it goes right into my publishing company, and it funnels. So if you don't register
Nice.
your song, then it's not legal. It's not out there. You can't collect money on it. So
Makes
it's
sense.
important to register the song. So then when you go up on the websites, on their servers, you say, oh, yeah, he wrote that song and he wrote it with so and so. And this is where you send the money to. And this is who you contact for rights. So it's all there. So that's why you want to register it. And controlling the publishing company, you really start to understand all the nuances of why this stuff is so important. And I get why my mom liked doing it.
Mm.
Because, we have that same kind of mind, this analytical mind, and moving numbers around and creating spreadsheets. But it's been a very, very nice stream of revenue. It's called mailbox money, everybody. You go to the mailbox and then there's money in there. And you're like, oh shit, I got some mailbox money today. Because you're earning royalties because the songs play all the time, so you get money. But it also gives you the opportunity to go make more money on the music, because I can take one of those songs you heard in the intro and I can
Yeah.
go to a TV show and say, hey, you want to use this? And they'll say, yeah, we'd love to. And then I charge them a fee, and then they pay me a fee, and then I'm making money on that song again. So all these songs that we have in our
Wow.
publishing company can keep generating revenue, and so forth and so on.
So how many artists did your mom and dad end up publishing, or did your mom, I should say?
Just ourselves. Nope, just us. Just my father.
But what would
It's
I mean?
just
Like,
his
how many
music.
songs, how many albums does that actually entail? Because I've seen your collection. It's
I mean, there's a bunch. I don't know. There's probably like 100 songs.
wow.
There's probably, right. There's 4 albums. Um, and then there's a whole bunch of demo tapes and all that kind of stuff. So it's probably around 100 songs.
Nice. And how many of those have
Yeah,
been
it's cool.
used
And then my music too.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that as well. And how about yours as well, added in there, because you've got a bunch of tracks as well too.
Yeah. So, but I have like TV scores. So those kind of add up. You'll do one show or like one episode, and there'll be 15 different cues as a so it's a little befuddled. But I got a couple hundred things.
Nice. That's amazing. And how?
Yeah.
How? And I'm sorry. How many of your dad's tracks or your mom's publishing pieces have ended up in popular music?
I mean, the songs that they've written have been covered by a ton of artists. At least 60.
Wow.
They've written songs that other artists have recorded probably 60 times. I've got a wall of records that shows 40 albums of stuff that they wrote songs on, and I know it's more. I didn't have enough wall space, so I'll guess at least 60 off the top of my head. That's pretty good.
Wow,
Some
that's
pretty
amazing.
famous people too, like the Pointer Sisters or Dionne Warwick, Berta Flack, Maurice White, who's the frontman for Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan. There's all types of cool little things.
That's amazing. And obviously these are songs that people
Yeah,
would
it's pretty cool.
recognize.
These are songs that what?
These are songs that people would recognize.
I don't think so. He's pretty under the radar. I think you'd have to be a super duper head to know any of those songs, especially the demo tapes. But he had 4 albums, so there's one song that's pretty popular in its time period, in its demographic, and generally everything else is not known, which I think is beautiful because I think it's great music, and it still may have a chance to get its shine. It may still have its chance to be shared with people.
That's amazing, and through you, obviously, you're bringing it to light. But so I'm guessing that the influence of this music helped you to find your way into digging or looking into the other music around it. I'm guessing, or the background of the musicians around your dad and your mom.
Yeah, it was a journey because I think starting out buying records as a kid, we'd love reading the credits because we knew so many people. You're like, oh, so and so played, and oh, look at that person. I loved reading credits for that, and then it turned into what was the question?
Well, but you were leading in the right direction. Is that the influences of the people around you and the music you were hearing, and for instance, and describe
correct.
your dad because you haven't talked a lot about your
that
dad
used,
as well.
So that would be like the intro to
Hold
like
on
okay,
one
this
second.
is cool. This is
I've
cool
lost,
knowing the
I've
people.
lost your audio here, and I'm not sure.
This is cool knowing people. This is cool knowing people.
Stand by.
Cool knowing people. This is cool.
Stand by here. Your audio has dropped. Stand by. My apologies, folks. Stand by.
So we're all going to learn how to touch vinyl.
Oh, nice.
Vinyl, possibly mixed vinyl.
Hello?
We're all going to walk away.
Can you hear me?
Recording new scratch.
There
Yes.
you
I don't care about
are.
anything.
Hold on one
Drop a
second.
record, break a needle, none of that matters.
I don't know why this is doing this, but it just dropped the fuck out, like out of nowhere. Say check for me.
Hey there, how you guys doing?
Hopefully when I go back to the other channel, it'll pull you out. All right. All right, Bert, give me a check if you wouldn't mind. No, doesn't want to play nice with us. Hold tight. Try now.
Hello, hello,
There you are. All right.
hello,
Thankfully, I have a
hello.
backup to all of this. All right, cool. So Lizard Tree says, "What an amazing family." By the way, is this your dad that we're hearing in the
Yeah,
background?
yes, it is. It's a demo tape that I found.
Nice. What's this called?
Never heard this song before. Um, Love is the Light.
Amazing. So you were just about to say the influences from the people around you.
Yeah, so let me run into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me run into that. It was really cool knowing the musicians growing up. You know, from afar, I wasn't like oh my god, blah blah blah, but it was just like friends. It was like, oh my god, look at Aaron's on this record. It was just so these people were like friends. So you reading the credits, you're like, that's cool, that's cool. And I had a bass, and I liked playing bass. I don't really remember saying like, oh man, I got to get in the band and I want to do this, But I love my bass, and I love bass lines to this day. Is what grabs me into music. Saying all that to say is that I didn't really have the music bug. I was more into sports. I was like the best bike rider in the valley, and baseball and friends, and that's where my head was at. But then I saw Treacherous 3. Right as my parents were starting to split, I saw Treacherous 3 versus Run DMC on Graffiti Rock on NBC at 7:30 at night on a Wednesday night. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, what the fuck is that? I want to do that. And that's when I got like the music bug. like, hey, this is cool. I like how this stuff sounds. And at the same time, I moved to a new school where there was a lot of that, where there was a lot of people into music. There was people who listened to music. There was people who made music, people who danced. It was just like this whole different energy than this. And then I'm like, dude, I need this to sound better. What do I got to do? And I said, well, I need to learn how to engineer, and then teaching yourself how to engineer and getting jobs at studios to engineer. So that, and then then keep going, started composing, started touring, started doing my one-man show and TV, but it's taken me down this whole path. But I think it started from that Run DMC clip, seeing that clip and moving to a school with people that I became really good friends with that were into music at the same time. Like trying
Now
to
talk
create
about
music and
that.
had the same ambition.
Talk about that for a minute, because you went to a very specific school at a very specific time, and you ran into a group of people that, most people are not going to be running into at their high school, and ending up, doing what they do in general, I think, at least from my point of view.
Okay.
Describe your high school scenario, at least to me. Describe your high school scenario and the people that you went to high
I
school
think
with.
it's right. I think it's junior high is where I really got into the culture, and then high school in 10th grade is where I met DJ Newmark. He's from Jurassic 5. So him and I had a crew with Greg, with G Down, and O-Bomb, and Dave. And it was cool because Mark and I were on the same page. We were both super motivated to get drum machines, get turntables, DJ parties, buy records, reinvest, make music, go produce a project, go pay for a studio, go try to do shows. Like, we were just lockstep. And having that opportunity 2 years after I saw Run DMC and starting to learn how to DJ, and having somebody that's just like on the same fucking grind, on the same idea,
Yeah.
was everything. Because everyone else in the crew, like David was super talented, but he was fleety, he was flaky, and then I'm quitting. I'm gonna go sell water purifiers. And then Greg didn't like to reinvest money. He just wanted his money to get gear. And but Mark and I were like, dude, we gotta get records. So Mark and I would buy records and buy all the equipment, and then Greg would come in and DJ, and then we'd split the money. And I'm like, fucking, but you're taking all the money and buying shoes, and we're taking the money and buying records. That's allowing you to DJ and take money to buy shoes.
Hold on a second. So where were you finding these records? Where were you digging? What kind of albums were you
The
buying?
record Tower Records, Music Plus, Prime Cuts, just the local spots around town, swap meets, flea markets.
Mm.
But like yeah, like all the newer hip hop stuff, you go to like Music Plus or Prime Cuts or Tower Records, and that's where you get the current music. But when you want to go find other stuff, we would go hit up the swap meets and see if you can stumble on some new shit. But finding all these good disco records and all that kind of stuff. And the dig became really, really serious when you start producing music.
And when did
If
that
you're
start?
just sticking to
Exactly.
87. So our 10th grade, 10th grade.
And that was with Newmark?
Mark, yeah, I was with Mark, yeah. Yeah, we started DJing, and then he had a drum machine, and then he was making beats on his drum machine, and David was rhyming, and I went to my uncle's studio and recorded that demo, and that had to be some point in 10th grade, probably towards the tail end of 10th grade. So that was the first demo that we did. And then we did some shows with that, some little local shows, but during that whole time, we were DJing so many parties. We were DJing like 2 parties a night all through high school.
Wow.
And
House parties.
It was ill. It was ill. It was so cool. It was so cool. We were called Bum Rush Productions. So we were getting our chops down. Mark and Greg were the DJs, and then I was learning to DJ. And then I'd be trying to like, hey, let me spin. I had to really force my way in to be able to start to spin in front of these crowds. And then when we get 2 gigs in a night, then I was rocking parties by myself.
Nice.
But those 2 were really like the front of the 2 DJs. But yeah, we were getting so many gigs, it was dope. So we had a little bit of cash, even though we were broke. We had a little bit of cash, but what we had was our equipment. And so when you start producing, at least in those days, you didn't want to have the latest record. You wanted to find these cool esoteric records, these disco records, these jazz records where you can find cool samples, find snippets that people aren't using. So when you're digging, you're looking for that. It opens up the palette of music to look for, not just Run DMC, not just Eric B. and Rakim, but you're looking for David Sanborn, you're looking for Herb Alpert, just all types of stuff. So that's what music really became for us. We really got to just dig and listen to so much music because we wanted to make music.
And what did you get drawn to beyond the jazz and such? What were your first major, what other than the gigs, I'm sorry, that we were having at the house parties, what was your first major like professional work as a DJ, or how did that split off? And then what happened with you and Newmark and Bum Rush Productions?
Oh, besides the house party, you're saying besides the house parties, what was like the first professional gig?
Yeah.
I know there's probably something else, but we did this thing. Mark and I did a video for this hospital up in Pinole, California, which is like near San Francisco, and it was like their Christmas video of, each person would have their line, hey, and everybody say Santa's here, and I've got it clear, and then pass it off to the next person, and videotaping throughout the hospital. And it was so we made a mixtape, Mark and I, and it was had the cool instrumentals that had like Tony's Feel Good, and so we created this whole little landscape, and we went up to Pinole, and I had my 4-track, and we were in there recording everybody and doing the songs and recording, and then they made a video out of it, and that was our first gig. I know there was something else, but that was our first gig. We got our flights paid for, hotels, made some money, and it was cool.
So you can actually say that your career was started alongside DJ Newmark from Jurassic 5's. Like you guys actually paired from the get-go.
Oh, yeah. He'll say the same thing too.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he says the same thing too. And he wouldn't be where he is without me, but I wouldn't be where I am without him. He's the one that started that narrative, and as I thought about it, I'm like, he's right. He's right in a lot of ways, because he was a bedroom dude. He wouldn't leave his bedroom. So he had a turntables and a drum machine, but he wouldn't leave his bedroom. And I was like, "Yo, let's fucking go. Let's go.
And
Let's do this."
real quickly, just so the audience knows, because I know you know, and I don't know, I know, but who is DJ Newmar?
He's the DJ slash producer for the rap group called Jurassic 5. Um, they had a lot of success in the mid '90s to the mid 2000s. They toured the world several times. They had some good underground classic records. I don't think they had anything that like the Billboard Top 100 for a long time. I know the song "What's Golden" did really well, which is a song that Mark actually produced.
Nice.
But I just say all that to say is that you may not heard of the group because they didn't have those smash hits, this, that, and the other, but they were really important to the creation of hip hop, especially in LA, because they were at the same time as the Black Eyed Peas. They all rolled in the same little clique together, and the Black Eyed Peas kind of went through the stratosphere, and the other groups kind of just did whatever they were doing. But really important group, really important for the DJ culture, because him and his partner in there, Cut Chemist, are two of the most influential DJs of this genre. And then the MCs were amazing. They had a really good way of bouncing off each other and harmonizing. Really good group. It's worth checking out a few of their things.
Yeah, they're absolutely amazing. And I just found, by the way, somebody sent me, one of my viewers sent me a short from YouTube of somebody on the street asking random folks walking by who their favorite performance or what their favorite show was. And the first person says somebody obvious like Billie Eilish. And the second person goes, Jurassic 5. It's the best show I've ever seen in my life. And it's somewhere in Europe, so I had to.
I know the truth.
It's
true though, man. I've seen a lot of shows, and it blows me away every time.
Every time, man.
Really good.
I will say that I'm very proud that, like you and I were involved in shows where every single crew that we worked with was extremely stoked to have us in their house because they enjoyed the show too, which is super rare. Anyways, so enough of the knob slob. But
you want to get Raider?
What's that?
Nothing.
Oh, sorry. All right. Well, so this brings us kind of into the where did you and what did you start doing, and how long did it take to where you're at now, which is working for a major show on TV, and several of them, if I'm not mistaken. And how long did that take? What kind of effort did that take? What did you have to overcome to get to where you are now? And I'm guessing that's about 25 years, from 25 to 30 years.
Being comfortable in your own skin. I think that's the biggest one. Following the ups and downs and the being broke and not having some things that others may deem necessities that you're okay not having. Scraping month to month, but all that comes from being comfortable in your skin and knowing who you are, for me at least. And that has allowed me the freedom in my brain to keep pursuing my passions, which is really art, making music, being involved in the musical process. I went with the built it block by block. I never went out immediately and said, superstar, do this, on stage, bam. It was like, I want to learn how to DJ. I want to learn to produce. I want to learn to engineer. I want to put records out, and then all of a sudden the opportunities start to come. Okay, I'll go compose for that TV show. Oh, okay, I'll partner up with Public Enemy and do this and do that and do this and do that. And that's just kind of a derivative of these little building blocks that I subconsciously was building when it was just really me just following my passion and wanting to be better at my art. I think I think that period until I hit that James Cameron TV show. Well, I got the Temptations, the Grammy for the best album of the year, and then
wait, describe that. I'm sorry, you're just gonna. You love bearing the lead there. So what happened with the Grammy?
Well, but then what happens is if I tell you about the Grammy, I lose the other train of thought.
Okay, go. Well,
Because
keep cooking. Come back to it.
right, because I was just trying to say that from the point that I really started getting into this to when I hit that point with the Grammy and the James Cameron gig, which were like 6 months apart. So I wanted to note that all of a sudden, boom and boom and boom happened after 6 months. That was probably a solid 10-year journey. That was maybe that's solid 10-year journey. But within that journey, I was going to school, I was playing baseball, so that took up a decent chunk of time. But during all of that time, I was still DJing, and I was still wondering, how am I going to make music while I'm on a bus going to play games? So that took a solid 10 to 12 years. I know other people get it quicker or whatnot, but even Jurassic 5, we're at it. If Mark and I started at the same time and Jurassic 5 popped off in 95, that's 8 years,
Yeah.
So it's still, it takes a little bit of chunk. And when I say starting, it's like, well, when did you get your first drum machine? When did you start making music? When did you start doing this? But that foundation that we have afforded us the opportunity. When the opportunities came, you were able to take it and you were able to keep running with the ball and keep going. If you don't have those foundations, if you don't have that, I don't want to say work ethic, but if I make a track my first time and it blows up, like, what's my next step? I've got no experience, so I'm kind of just fishing around trying to figure out what to do. You got a pretty good foundation, so you got an idea of, okay, if this happens, then boom, 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 I'm going to do that, and I know my opportunities are this, that, and the other, and I've got experience to draw from, and I'm not just a fish out of water from day one. So I think when those opportunities came, we were just like, bam, we're able to jump on it. That Grammy project was, I changed studios. I was working at one studio, and then I went to another studio and started working, and had some really cool sessions. And then the Temptations session came through, and we did half the album there.
Oh,
So
wow.
that album was great to work on. It was a lot of work. It was hard, and I didn't. 9 months later or 11 months later, it went to Grammy for best R&B album of the year.
And this
Like,
is
holy
2022,
moly. But
2023?
before 2020, 2000,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know about that.
1999 or 2000. Yeah, it was 1999 or
So this
2000, and
predates.
that's when I got the James Cameron show.
I didn't realize that you had
Pardon?
the Cameron show back then. I thought that was a newer deal. So there's a long arc going on from here. Where does and not to drag you
Yeah,
off from that, but where does Chuck D come into the story here?
I met him on that James Cameron TV show.
Nice. And how did that flourish? And what's become of that?
He did the theme song. Him and Gary G. Wiz did the theme song on that TV show. So at the rap party, I got to meet him and we got to talk, and I had some ideas, and they were like, "Yeah, let's partner up. Let's go for it." So from there, we get gigs, we would get TV shows to do or theme songs, and Chuck would come in and do his thing. We would do our thing. We would pitch ideas, and so that's kind of what's been my relationship with Gary and Chuck since 2000, and I still work with Chuck to this day. We did a project, I think it was last year, we did a theme song for this project. That's actually up for an NAACP award next month.
That's amazing. And so, I mean, that's an unusual thing.
Yeah.
I think most people wouldn't think of Chuck D from, NWA as being, I'm sorry, Public Enemy.
No, Public Enemy.
My
Yeah,
apologies.
yeah.
But that's the time period that pops into my head immediately, and the impact of that music is that he changed hip hop, during a time
Yeah.
period where people,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and the kind of the irony of it was that white people were going to a show about black empowerment, and I think
Yeah.
that's a powerful message of how much Chuck changed music. So what's it like to work with somebody who's had that kind of impact?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that have certain, different types of impacts, but him particularly is one of the most profound moments every time that I get to speak with him and work with him in my life. He's so deep. He's so deep, but it's so simple. It's not rocket science. After he says what he says, you're like, yeah, this isn't rocket science. Like, yeah, like what? Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's always based in fact and is historical, like the stuff he knows up here, like historically,
Yeah.
the information that he has, where he's decided to take his ball and go play is just it's empowering. I'm not making comparisons, but it's definitely in the activist category. It's in whether it's the Huey P's or I know Martin and Malcolm, that's a different conversation, but you got the Huey P's and the Angela Davises, and you got these other people. He's in that conversation. I mean, he's taken a lot of hits for what his stances are and what his beliefs are. I mean, the FBI was monitoring him.
Yeah.
What makes that any different than
No,
Huey and all the other people?
The subversiveness of the message was not missed by the government for guaranteed, especially because there was such a mix of cultures. And I would give them, and this is one of the arcs that I was going to point out. It is odd. Most people wouldn't connect these things of that. Somebody who was involved with Public Enemy and Flavor Flav and all of that would be writing thematic music, writing music commercially, creating and producing other music that most people are unaware of, and creating and forging those bonds and bridges that essentially are affecting society on a larger level. So
yes, and still to this day.
Yeah, to this day. Yeah, so that's an amazing thing, by the way, and not to pull any shine away from your story, but I just want to highlight that as somebody who's chosen to work with you. And that I've always,
believes in me. It's crazy.
Believes in you. Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but how does that work out when you're in the studio with somebody like that, or with Chuck in particular? How does your studio time evolve? What kind of music do you guys tend to make? How does that work out?
It's usually like written two scenes. A lot of the stuff lately has been written two scenes. So you just pull up a couple scenes, put some music down, you get a couple ideas from the directors or the people that are in charge of the project on kind of what they're looking for, and just kind of scrap out a couple ideas. You're usually able to hit it out of the park relatively quickly, and then the stuff that doesn't work, you just save it for something else. So sometimes a project will come and we'll already have something that works really, really well. So it's
nice.
It's usually pretty quick.
That's great. So
with him at least.
You guys are just like, you spitball it, you put it together, and it tends to come together for the client like in front of you, or are you just you have a lot to pull from?
In front of you. But I mean, they're coming to you because of your sound. And they're like, hey, we want you because we want this sound. They don't come to him and say, hey, we want that sound. They're like, no, that's why you're calling me, because there's a certain sound that you're going to get with us. So when somebody's commissioning you to be you, it's a lot easier.
No doubt, because then you get to just present the authentic vibe that you've got, and they're gonna like what it is, or they're gonna not. Either way, and it's not something you have to play up to, I would gather. So that's amazing, man.
Exactly.
So how did you find Burt Bacharach, or did he find you? How does that story evolve out of?
He found me, and I needed him in my life.
Wow, how so?
The whole to narrow my scope of focus. Allowed me to zero in on what I want to zero in on what I want to share with the world. Zero in on my personality. It embodies the sense of humor, the musicality, the showmanship, all kind of in one thing. So you've already got a little idea of who you are going to be dealing with when you hear that name.
And what does that entail other than just when you're talking about showmanship and the personality, what are the defining factors of Bert?
Stepping in front instead of laying in the back, instead of being the drummer or the DJ in the back. That persona, that concept now afforded me the opportunity, or afforded me the guts to say, you know what, I'm going to be in front. Let me go in front of all of this. There's more to me than being in the back. So I think that was a big deal, because now it's like I felt like a superhero. Like, okay, now I'm this superhero. I'm going to move within this superhero's ecosystem.
That's great. And when did
alter
that?
Ego, right?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, wouldn't it just be an alter ego? It's just an alter ego, but
it's your Superman.
Music.
Yeah, it's your Superman for stage. Now, would you say that that's a suit you put on, or is that something that comes out of you? Is it Superman, or are you Green Lantern? Do you put the ring on and you become the Green Lantern, or are you Bert, or well, how do you feel? How do you prepare for Bert, or do you prepare for Bert?
All right, that's my shield. I prepare for Bert every day because this is what I wear every day. I wear Bert Black Rat shirts, so it's part of the uniform, but it helps keep me focused.
Nice. So I was telling the audience in the prior stream that we dumped earlier that Bert. Well, he did a stint as the opening act for Jurassic 5. Is that correct?
That is correct, and we must thank you dearly, my friend.
Oh no! Don't thank me. I was saying it was one of the greatest pleasures to ever pull that gag on the road and be able to just pull it off daily. And I just wanted confirmation, because I was telling the story on my own earlier that so Amani was our stage manager for Jurassic 5. I will say this at that point in time, and it made it very convenient to not only get him paid as the DJ for the support or direct opening in spaces where we didn't have one, but whenever we could, we would have Bert be the opening act, because Amani understood the vibe and the music style, and it was, he had control of the stage, and nobody else would be on the stage except for our people, and everybody trusts Bert, so let's go. And how did that idea, was it my idea? It sounds like something I would come up with, but I feel like we're talking smack in the back of the bus, and we came up with the idea of making Amani and Bert twins who didn't get along because Bert got your dad's publishing.
Yeah, that was heavily inspired by the Mandelbaumster.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure where that. I didn't want to take full credit for it.
It was one of our it was one of our many preposterous conversations.
Yeah, it was a scheme. It was definitely a scheme.
Yeah,
it was a scheme.
Yeah.
So the audience understands what ended up happening is that Amani would be Amani, stage manager, would come in, work hard, and I would, in the background, tell management that it was just to everybody beware that Amani's twin brother, Bert, would be showing up later to DJ, and that it's just best not to confuse the two. Amani is our stage manager. It is not Bert. They don't get along. I would explain a little of the background, and people bought it. The entire summer, it had to be like 30 or 40 shows. Only one almost blew it, and once I got like kind of in her face a little bit about it, like, hey, don't do that. She backed off, and it was all good for the rest. She still looked at me weird, but because she knew. She got me. She did. She got me. But I just want to confirm that this was true, that I wasn't just making this story
Oh yeah.
up. That
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Out there pretending, go into the tour bus and change into a different outfit.
Yes.
So they come out and say, "Oh yeah, here's Bert."
Yeah.
Completely different clothes. Oh my god, that was just brilliant.
It was good.
Just brilliant.
It was a lot of fun, man. And the fact that people bought it at all. And some days, like, absolutely, the discretion level was amazing. People really, like, ran around making sure that Amani and Bert didn't actually intercede one another.
We were getting double per diems.
There was a couple of days where people did pay Amani and then did pay Bert. This is very true. And we shall keep that. Over a decade ago, by the way, folks.
Oh, yeah. Sure. I was supposed to keep that a secret. I forgot.
It's okay. It's okay. There was a couple days. My favorite was the day, and it was the day we got actually busted by the stage manager. And it wasn't about that, by the way, audience. It wasn't about the per diem. It was about we had a reporter show up to interview Bert, and I actually had the same conversation that I had with any of these people with the reporter to make sure that, understand that, Amani is the stage manager and Bert got the publishing. So please, do me a favor and just don't, and Bert's sensitive about it. He won't even acknowledge him, and he's got a different ride today, so he'll be here late. And so the reporter actually saw Amani go to the trailer and asked me if that was Amani. And I said, yeah, that's the twin. And she bought it 100%. And it was only then that the stage manager was like, wait, what? Hold on a second. So, but by the
yeah,
that's
fucking classic.
That's the one where you have a full page in the local paper. I think it's it wasn't Liechtenstein, it was Switzerland, somewhere near there.
Yeah, but I've got that too. I've got that newspaper still. It's classic, so classic. Like a three-page spread.
Yes, on Bert.
Yeah, it was awesome. Great cover, great all that stuff. Just comedy, man.
Did they mention, by the way, I don't remember if they do or not, but did they mention your twin in that report though? I feel like there's some little mention of like your brother is on stage as stage manager or something like that. I feel like there is. Oh,
if they did, man, I'm canceling Christmas.
That
would be hilarious.
We did have people fooled.
Yeah,
we had people seriously fooled. Which is still amazing to me because I'm going to tell you, audience, Bert would walk off. I'm sorry, Amani would walk off stage. And wait, your hair was up in the... his hair would be up and he'd have no shirt on and shorts. He'd walk off stage into the dressing room sometimes, literally change his clothes, put on some sunglasses, let his hair down, walk back out, and I'd walk him out as if he just walked into the building, and people would be like, oh, that must be Bert. Anyways.
That is the truth, my friend.
This is 100% true. 100% true. Anyhow, I'm sorry. So how do we get from the Bert gag to Bert becoming, the head of music for the shows you're on now? And I'll let you introduce them because I know there's 4 or 5 right now or something like that. I mean, you've got a bunch of stuff going on, as well as how does that arc play into where you're at now, from being the stage manager for Jurassic 5 to being the music coordinator or director? Coordinator, right?
Supervisor.
Even better.
Yeah. The brilliance behind my Burt Bacharach, my stage show, is that it's called Unshazammable, and it's based around all these demo tapes that I found in our family studio after my father passed away, and I found all these really cool songs by a handful of different artists that recorded at our house, and these songs are really, really cool. Like, this is amazing. So I've had them for a while, but wasn't quite sure what to do with them. But I was also more focused on my career, and I had to make the decision: am I going to try to hustle these songs that I have, or am I going to focus on my career? So I focused on my career. That's when I hooked up with Public Enemy and James Cameron and all that stuff. But years later, I finally had the concept of what to do with those songs. Now that I'm more established and I've got a clearer vision on what I'm trying to accomplish, um, I was like, this would be really cool. I could do a DJ set based around all of these old classic songs that we own, but then interweave stories behind the songs and talk about some of the famous people that are playing on them and make comparisons to famous records that you know of. And you say, like, hey, you hear this song from Michael McDonald? Well, listen to this song. Doesn't it sound exactly the same? Listen to
Yeah.
this song that I found in my studio. And like, yeah, it does sound the same. And then I could tell you why it sounds the same because of the musicians. So uh,
Dope.
doing the stage managing, going into being an opening act, then I started doing that show, Unshazamable, around town. And I've done it, I did it enough to where I'm like, this is really, really good, and people love it, and people are enthralled by the music. And it became my focus is I'm going to focus on these musicians that people don't know about. These artists, these drummers, these bass players, like, yo, this bass player is amazing. The reason why you like the song is it's the same bass player from that uh, Michael Jackson record. And it also gave me the opportunity to stop playing other people's music as a DJ. Because at some point I'm like, this sucks. I'm just playing other people's music. I'm getting gigs, but it's like, it's cool, but creatively I'm looking for more. So I said, I'm just going to play my music. I'm going to play these demos. I'm going to play the music that I've made. I'm going to play my family's music, and I'm going to tell stories, and it's all going to be based off of this shit from me. And that's where wearing the Burt Bacharach shirt really came into play, really hyper-focused on rare stuff you can't find.
That's
Now,
amazing.
I've got rare stuff you can't find. I've reached out to my godparents and all those kind of people and found more stuff that you can't find. And I've accumulated a really cool stash that I started to get recognition from all of my peers. It's like, oh, he's doing something cool. So an opportunity came to do a TV show, and they brought me in because they saw the work that I was doing and how I was an expert and really sharing the vision behind these rare songs. They're like, I think he could be a really good music supervisor. Let's get him to be a music supervisor. And so I landed. The first show that I got was the Wonder Years, and
Amazing.
it was a period specific show. So it was music from 1969 and before, some music from the 50s and the 60s essentially. And since I had all those cool old demo tapes that I was playing, it showed that, hey, he really likes this old music and he knows what he's talking about. So that trajectory, said concisely, is I started playing my own music, my old music that's old. I started telling stories about it. I eliminated playing everyone else's music or focusing on that. I started giving DJ lessons and master classes, and I kept everything within my own ecosystem. Instead of going out and trying to beg people to do stuff, I said, I'm just going to keep my own ecosystem here, and I'm going to build this, and then people will start to come. And then that's when I got the call to do the Wonder Years. And then from the Wonder Years, people are like, yo, the work you're doing on there is great. And then I landed a whole bunch of shows after that. And I think that's in direct correlation to me deciding that I'm not going to keep playing other people's music. I've got to figure out how to share my art with people. And that got me to the position of, I know you want to know, I did the Wonder Years. There was a show called Shut Up and Dribble by LeBron James on Showtime. That was 3 episodes. I did Russell Westbrook's documentary. I was a composer on LeBron James, and I was a composer on Russell Westbrook's, but I was also the music supervisor on Russell Westbrook's. I did a TV show, 3-part series called Running While Black on Vice. And then I've got some other cool, I've got this other one called Gaps, which is a short that's up for a couple of awards. But my 2 latest ones are pretty massive. Stamped from the Beginning, which made the Oscar shortlist, which basically means that it was one of the final 15. It made the final 15 list on the best documentary, but it didn't get picked for the Oscar finals. But to make the short list is incredible. That did really well on Netflix. It made the top 10. And then I'm working on a new show called Genius, which is about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and that comes out on Disney, Hulu, Disney Plus, and Nat Geo on February 1st.
Wow, that's an amazing group of accomplishments there, man.
And
long
the
way
caliber
from,
of people is,
sorry,
and the caliber of people I'm working with is like, it's impressive. It's, the genius is Ron Howard and Brian Grazer, and then,
oh wow,
and then it's also Reggie Rock Bythewood and Gina Price Bythewood, and Gina did The Woman King. She was the director of The Woman King, and the other show I did, it's got Mara Brock Akil on it, who created the show Girlfriends, and a bunch of other shows where like these people are like really, really big in their field. And then the Wonder Years that I did was with Lee Daniels, under Lee Daniels' umbrella.
yeah.
So I've been like, damn, dude, I'm getting some cool, like high level shit, with the real companies and all that type of stuff.
Well, it sounds like it. You're
the first black.
I'm sorry.
The first black director, the first black man to win an Oscar as a director is the one that directed Stamped from the Beginning.
Wow, that's
so I got
amazing.
to work with the first black person to win a fucking Oscar. The book it was based off of was a New York Sellers top 10, no, number 1. Had another book that went number 5, and he's the most banned author in America. He's got like 4 books banned.
You're kidding.
So
what are they banned for?
No, it's in New York. Because they're telling the truth about stereotypes and racism.
Wow.
How to be anti-racist. It's like these days they're banning anything because they take objection to it. They don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah, I think you.
And it's not even like it's bad truth.
Yeah.
It's not like it's bad. It's like, look, this is what Thomas Jefferson was raping Sally Henning, a black slave, and having kids with him. But on the other side, fighting. He's saying abolition is good, but then on the other side, he has 200 slaves and he's raping Sally Henning. And when it comes up, and he's trying to play both sides of the fence. What's wrong with sharing that?
Well,
I know that.
What I think is interesting is we definitely have a lot of folks who want history to be convenient to their ideas.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing that as well? Is that something that you've experienced? Because I would say that we had somebody just recently in chat, just right now, that we've timed out and deleted for saying some pretty insane things that they would claim, and then try to use some kind of manipulative gaslit thing to make it so that you don't delete their insane statement, simply because they want to demand that insanity to be true. Meanwhile, they would deny or suggest that what you're saying, a historical fact that can be found in chronicle and record, and repeated like throughout the records, that people were observing this, that isn't true because they don't like it. What do you think about that kind of aspect of life, and how are you addressing it? And how does that come up for you? And has it come up in your career, by the way?
Every day. How's that for an answer?
Succinct.
Yep. Every day, and just gotta deal with it. Find your coping mechanisms and just deal with it.
What have yours been?
Hold on.
By the way, I would also say I find it very interesting that those same people would demand that we carry their culture of absurd allowance, that they don't know the difference between, appropriate behavior in a space. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Go for it.
My latest one has been my neighbor who lives behind me. Has called us the N-word, called the city on us. He gave us a citation because I turned my garage into a studio, and he terrorizes us. He stands on his garage looking into our yard. He tells our neighbors bad things about us. He's called the Department of Water Power on us. He went to my next door neighbor and said, "You're not friends with them, are you?"
Wow.
Yeah, they're growing bamboo on our yard and they won't do anything about it.
Wait,
It's
haven't
just
you
been a
owned that
nightmare.
land? Haven't you owned that property for a really long time?
Yeah, they just grew bamboo on their side of the property
Mm-hmm.
and it's just spread all over our yard.
Oh man.
Yeah, bamboo's so invasive.
Yeah.
You know, you know when you plant it that it's going to grow everywhere. But yeah, but he only grew the bamboo was because he wanted to stay away from us. He grew it to like make it, harder
Harder to see.
harder to see us. Yeah.
Have you been able to chronicle any of
I've
this?
been dealing with that for. No.
Hmm.
It's hard to chronicle something when you don't know it's being done.
True.
You don't know that he's calling the city on you.
Yeah. Till they show up.
Correct. You don't know that he's on his roof, looking at us until you find out. Unless you're staring right at it, you can pull your camera out. You don't know it till you find out. So it's been really hard to deal with it. But he's Jesus. That's my latest. That's my latest one. Before then, I had some friends that thought it was okay to drop the N word or say, oh no, it's okay, man. I can say it. I'm allowed to.
Oh well, we're friends,
and
so
he's
that gives you a pass, right? Doesn't that no?
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
By the way,
Yep. 30 years.
Wow, really?
Friends for 30 years. 30 years, and I said, please don't say that. And he's like, I can say that. He just wouldn't apologize. He just wouldn't apologize and wouldn't say anything other than that. He was okay. He's allowed to say it.
No, I've had that discussion with people older than myself, younger than myself. A lot of folks in a certain group of people seem to have a hard time not saying a word, which I think is like the most insane irony. Like, how much easier is it to not say something? You don't even, I mean, like,
Everyone wants to be cool. Everyone wants to be cool.
is it cool?
Everyone wants to be black. Everyone thinks that, it looks really cool.
Yeah. Well, I have to wonder if it's not not an intent to undermine, but rather the negligent sensitivity, lack of empathy. Does that come? How does that come into your world? As far as, and you said every day, how does that come into play in your dealings with music, man? And how has that come into play? I know that. Well, in dealing with Chuck, I mean, there must be Chuck D. There's got to be some. I mean, he comes with a background of, fighting the great fight. So, I mean, what's your experience been?
But he's established, so people know when they're reaching out to him what they're reaching out to. Right?
Yeah, true.
How the hell do you deal with it in music? Music, I think it's I don't think it's so black and white in music. I think it's haves versus have-nots. I think it's money. I think it's who has the most money, and then those are the ones who get to control the narrative, or those are the ones who have the ability to press play on stuff to make stuff happen. I think everybody's in the same boat in a lot of ways. I think you've got a superstar black artist and you got a superstar white artist. I think are having similar issues. And I don't think it's based on race as much. I think that it gets deeper than that.
Sure.
And there are, how come there's more white artists that are in the top 10 and how come there's all that? I get that, but I think at the crux of it all is it's really the haves versus the have-nots when it comes to music. I haven't seen a whole lot of just music. Just songs, just recording songs, putting
Yeah.
songs out. I think we're all kind of in the same boat.
Well, that's
I do.
interesting. That's an interesting thing to hear because it's so prevalent. It seems to be so prevalent in general society as a problem, if I'm not mistaken, and especially what you're describing is even in your
Yep.
neighbor. You know, and
Yep.
even in this chat, that like you would have to wonder if that person would ever just walk up in general society and say the thing that they just said in chat and not expect that everybody around
Never.
you know, yeah,
Never.
yeah,
Never. I call them computer gangsters,
yeah.
and they cower when confronted. It's amazing the amount of negativity that's posted. It's absolutely amazing.
What do you
The
think that
amount
comes
of,
from, and how do you fight that yourself? And have you confronted, or do you confront?
Silence. Silence or kill them with kindness.
Oops,
They want you to engage.
Hmm.
Hello.
Yeah, no, you're here.
They want you to engage. They're trying. They're trying to poke the bear. A lot of them are bots. A lot of them are Russian bots.
Some of them are. The person who was just here, we call him
Yeah.
Archie Bunker, by the way.
Well, that's funny because the person that said it was okay to call me the N-word is a friend.
Mm-hmm.
His nickname was Archie Bunker. I started calling him that because he was just so fucking oblivious.
Yeah.
Yep, Archie.
Yeah, it's hard to understand how people are missing the empathy or the understanding or the past 50 years of growth, you know, if not more, in society. And before I move us on anything, I'm going to share one of your unshamable moments here real quickly because I think the audience should peep some of this. Oops. I moved my audio to the other side now.
About to get hooked up.
Well, move it back to this
have
side.
I know, right?
To music nobody in the world
Stand by.
even knows exists. You're just never going to hear this anywhere else. I'm convinced I can set the music business on its ear because I've got great material that doesn't need to be created. It hasn't had its chance to be presented to the public. This stuff was recorded in our recording studio in the 70s when I was a little kid. I call this show Unshazamable because you're not going to be able to Shazam a lot of this funk that you feel. Straight funk. I'm going to tell you stories wrapped around the music that helps explain the stories. You better believe that I was playing video games in my bedroom with Rick James when I was a little kid. The purpose of what I'm doing now is exposing all of this great music that you guys haven't heard before. I'm completely turning around how you're going to approach going to a show. Do you want to sit and watch the DJ play songs you already know? Or do you want to watch the DJ play songs that make you feel good, wondering where in the hell did he get that? This is how we're getting down from here on out. Airbnb and Burt Bacharach are synonymous with each other. We've got the same mission. We've got the same goals. We want to bring people together one by one. I'm taking you on a journey with Airbnb. You know how we get down. Come see me.
So, Bert, you have a show called Unshazamable. How did that come about? How did you end up building that out? And are you going to do more? Or do you have plans?
I am gonna do more. I have plans. I got lots of plans, my friend. But yes, I am gonna do more. How did it come about? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, I mean, like, how did you come up with the idea? You started describing it earlier that you what you did.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Well, I mean, the Unshazamable just kind of naturally came. I'd be doing a party, and then at some point, just like at a bar or something, or like at a bar, and then I would start. I'm gonna start interweaving some of these songs. I'm gonna put this song in now that we did. I'm gonna put this song in now that we did, and I get some reactions from some people, and then I would get on the mic and say, "Hey, you caught that? Did you hear blah blah blah?" And then that got me into like, this is cool. I'm telling these stories. Like, where can I get that song? How can I get it? And I said, it's unshazamable. They'll come up with their phones, showing me it's not Shazam, I said it's unshazamable. And then I got to stick with that. At some point, I was like, I got to stick with that name because it's one word.
Yeah.
right? And you completely get what it is. And it's kind of like Burt Bacharach. You know, you hear that, and if you know, you're like, oh, that's fucking great.
So what do you do in these
That's
shows?
great. I
You know,
get it.
yeah, everybody understands it right away. And you got to actually meet the real Bacharach, right? At some point, or there was some crossover, right? No,
I
you
did.
didn't get to meet him.
Yeah. His wife, ex-wife Angie Dickinson, is besties with my in-laws. So she took she's rocked the Burt Bacharach shirt, and then he talked to him and told him about it, and he laughed and he said he loved it.
That's amazing, man. Hey, so your show, what was the show about? I mean, I know what it was about because I saw it, but and it was great, by the way. When you do it again, I can't wait because I know it's going to be another amazing experience in storytelling. But tell the audience what you did there.
I basically, I interweave. I'll play like music. I'll play like 3 songs, and then once that 3rd song hits, it'll be a specific section. I'll say, "Oh my God, I got to stop the record," and I'll stop the record and say to the audience, "Oh my God, I got to share this story with you." You hear this song, and then immediately they start to get engaged. They're like, "Well, you're playing something cool. They're feeling all right. The night's starting to get warm." And then they stop something that you think is cool, and then you're like, "Hey, do you guys blah blah blah?" And then you can see them leaning in, and you start feeding the story. It's like, "Hey, this song right here, I always liked. I always heard this song growing up as a kid, but this is the version that I always heard, and I wasn't, it was cool, all right." And then I'll play the version that was popular or that was released by A&M Records, and I say, "Oh, this is cool." But then when I came across this version, I was like, "How come they didn't make it sound like this?" And I'll play the other version. People are like, "Wow, that version's really soulful. That's really cool. What's the deal?" And then I start explaining, sometimes creativity, the best idea is already here. And then you say, "Okay, I got the idea. Well, let's go hire 30 people. Let's go spend tens of thousands of dollars, and let's go try to re-record that song with all this polish." And then that became kind of the precipice of seeing people lean in, seeing people intrigued, and then being able to go play another song and then do the same thing with another song, while I've got video images behind me of my father's old albums, my mother performing on Soul Train and her movies, my images of all the records that I'm playing. So it's kind of immersive. I mean, immersive, at least you're getting like a visual. You're seeing the classic stuff. You're hearing the classic music. You're not there to dance per se. This is more like like for a theater vibe.
Yeah.
You're sitting down and you get to enjoy.
Well, I would have called it
And for an
immersive.
hour,
For certain,
You would have called it what?
I would call it immersive because it was. It was an audio journey. It was a story. You felt something. You did add, the story has a great arc to it. You had a lot of different examples and interesting things that you can't find anywhere. You challenge the audience to find the music. So I found it fascinating.
and the little trivia bits. I could start with, I could be at point A, then I'm at point B, and it's all connected, and then I'll say, "Oh, did you guys know that?" My favorite ones. Did you know that Rick James and Neil Young were in a group together? Right? And they're like, "Huh?" And I said, "Does anybody know that group?" And I'll say, "Yeah, they were in a band in Canada in the mid '60s, and my dad and all of them used to hang and smoke and go through women and be broke together." And Rick
Wow.
James and Neil Young were in a group called the Minor Birds. And right there, you're like,
That's
"Oh my
amazing.
God, that's amazing!" And then I can,
Yeah.
right, and then I can keep venturing off into little things. So that ties back into, and I'm glad because I wanted to say this before. So the story arc, my arc of getting into supervision, and it's because of all the rare music, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now my job that I have, the job that I have as a music supervisor, I have access to every single piece of music in the world because
Wait, how does
I
that
now
work?
control budgets.
But how does
Because
that
I
work?
control.
I mean, how do you get access to all
tell
that
you.
music? Because most people, I understand how to, how you would, as I'm killing my set here. I'm going to change over to a wireless audio. I have to run into the other room. But how do you get access to all that music?
Because I have a budget for all these TV shows, and it's people's job who have the music to find people like me, because I'm the one that decides. I'm the gatekeeper of what music goes into a TV show, what music goes into a movie. I have a lot of power in, saying, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to pay this amount of money for it. So people that have this music are looking for people like me, so they're coming out of the woodwork. So that's one way it's been really easy for me to find music. And then I'll send out briefs, or I'll send out emails or post on Slack or on Discord saying I'm looking for a certain type of music, and the people will send me all of that music.
And is that because you have that skill of being able to find those rare tracks as well, or is it just the knowledge of your own music? Or
well, so now that people are sending me all of this music, and I'm making these relationships and connections, and I have the ability to ask for certain things or say, hey, do you have anything that's not this, that's more deep? I've been finding so much more unshazammable music that the unshazammable show can just keep going and going and going, because I'm finding these songs that just haven't been released with other publishers, and they're eager to have me use the songs, and I have the ability to cut deals with them because this is what I do for a living now. Amazing. It's amazing. That's how it all really came full circle. So now it's feeding Unshazammable. So now Unshazammable fed me into the supervision, and now the supervision is feeding it all back into Unshazammable.
And what exactly, what kind of music is it? Is it all the same kind of musicians, or is this a variety?
Yeah, so I'm a lot of 60s and 70s. That's a real sweet period for lost music, because it's all got like a certain sound and a vibe to it. So it's mostly soul. There's rock. Soul's a little vague. R&B. There's folk music. There's prog rock, French music. I'm just thinking of things that I have or that I've really freaked out on. Like, oh my God, this French song is incredible. Oh my, wow.
And how are you finding these
so
things?
Is
that just going through catalogs? And are you,
yeah, people give me access to their catalogs and I listen to it, or I'll say, hey, I'm looking for something that's like blah, blah, blah. And then they'll send over 10 or 12 songs. And maybe they didn't have what I was looking for, but then there's like something else that catches my ear. I said, okay, I'm going to put that in the top my ear folder. And I just keep making mental notes, and I'll keep putting stuff in different places with notes on it. Like, okay, this could be good for this could be good for that. And my job's to listen to music, and people are just sending me music left and right. And then I tell them what type of music I'm looking for. So then they whittle down whatever they have and send me what they think will work. And then I can just keep doing that over and over again.
Wow. So you literally, when you say you get to just listen to music for most of your work, that's your job, is what most people dream about, in the sense that you get to go through all the things, and rare finds as well. You're looking for those jewels and little hidden pockets of lucky charms. That's an amazing thing, and good on you for finding that, because that's what an achievement as well. I mean,
why, thank you. You want to hear the fun side of this job?
Yeah, sure.
It's about 75% paperwork.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And how hard is that to learn? What's the arc on that for you? Coming from the artist's point of view.
I was lucky. Well, I was lucky. I started at 14. So when the opportunity came, I already had that foundation block where I was like, okay, I get what this is. I just need to learn some of the nuances. So I learned the nuances pretty quickly. I've partnered up with a friend of mine who's been doing this for 20 years. So he showed me some of the nuances, and off and running. But I had the building blocks. I've licensed songs before. I've got my own publishing company. So I understand all of it.
That's amazing. And where where does Bert go from here? What's your future hold? And what do you want us? What does Amani want to see? What does Bert want to see? What's the plan for the
unshazammable? Having three specials, so 3 different recordings of 3 different versions of the show. I think I've got enough material for 3 separate shows. So I'd like to do 3 shows. I would like to I'd like to produce the show, and it doesn't matter how it gets produced. So I would actually like to have a complete finished version of my unshazammable show.
And what do you mean by produced? As far as like, are you looking for investor, or are you talking about how the staging is done, or
the film? All of the above, not necessarily the investor. So, how can I record this? How can I rent a theater? How can I get the story arc correct? How can I do A, B, and C? How can I do a few shows and record it live? Like, I hate to say, oh, I need to get a deal with a Netflix. I like to say instead, oh, I just need to produce it. I need to get the package filmed and ready to go. And then from there, it'll do its thing. So
amazing.
The idea is getting a camera crew. The idea is getting a writer to help direct the narrative. And with all the people that I'm working with, the caliber of the circle that I'm in and the things that I'm learning, I believe that that's going to present itself. I think there's going to be somebody in this inner circle that I'm working with that's like, oh yeah, we can do this. Let's do this. Let's do that. You should try this, and I can set you up with that kind of thing. But yes. I think unshazammable is what I've really been focused on. I've been focused on publishing, getting some of these songs to be popular. If I can get a couple of these songs to get sampled, to become popular, if I can interweave it with the music I make, that's where I want to be. And I can see myself doing supervision for a long time. I see how to balance.
And the Wonder Years, you're still on the Wonder Years. You still have other shows on.
No, the Wonder Years. Well, the Wonder Years got canceled.
Oh no! But that was 3 seasons, 2 seasons.
2. Yeah, it was a great show. It was a great opportunity.
Yeah, neat show. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But you have other shows underway.
Yeah. I've got that movie everybody should watch on Netflix called Stamped from the Beginning. I've got the show Genius, which is in season 4. It's Martin Luther King. It's called Genius MLK X. It's about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And there's 8 episodes. The first 2 episodes are on February 1st on, like I said, Nat Geo, Hulu, Disney Plus.
Amazing.
Powerful. Stamped from the Beginning is really, really powerful. Those are 2 things I can really hang my hat on. And if you watch it, you're going to come back like, wow. That's wow.
I can only imagine, based off what I know of your capability and what you've been sharing with me today of that I didn't know already. I can't wait to check it out for certain, man. And so, hey, if you had anything to share with the audience, if you have one thing to share with the world, and it was the last thing you were ever going to share, and you knew that it was going to be, let's say, broadcast across the planet, and that the whole world was going to hear it afterwards, what lesson, what statement, what idea would you want to leave with the planet? What would be on your headstone?
Hit the ball hard, see where it goes. Keep trying to hit the ball hard, and and watch where it goes.
Fantastic. That's a lovely thought.
I need to write that down because I just made that up.
No, you're good. Hit the ball hard.
That's it. And see where it goes, and just keep focusing on hitting the ball hard.
Yeah, we didn't even get into the baseball metaphor of why that would be important to you there, but maybe I'll have you come back another time and talk about baseball specifically, because I do have a friend who is actually an MMA fighter, and I would like to do a sports episode for non-sports people. So I think having you on as an expert would be amazing. So,
I like that. Hit the ball hard. Yeah. See where it goes.
Having revelatory moments on the show, folks.
Yeah, I'm good for some of these.
True.
I'm good for some of these things, man. They just pop out sometimes. Or like, whoa. Like, wow, that was pretty good.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today here, Bert, and I think the audience has clearly been intrigued and illuminated, and you've shared a lot with us today, and I really appreciate your time as always and your candor. It's an amazing thing to have somebody in my life like you, man, who has such a background and is such a kind and caring friend as well. And I just want to say thank you for being on. And any final words before I shut us down? And Lizard Tree thanks you as well.
You're welcome, Lizard Tree. How do I see the scroll of people?
Oh, it's in the chat actually on the website, or you zoom in on. You'd like blow up the streaming window in Discord. It's on the left side, or actually, it's on both sides in the streaming in my video.
It's hiding. Oh well. What's the man? What's the final thought? Whatever you guys know out there, go for it. If you know video games, go for it. Whatever you know, just go for it.
Love that. And sage advice from a man who is arced through many, many good examples of what would otherwise be tough worlds of business and made it out on top and continues to work as he pleases as an artist in the realm that he wants to, and no less in the expertise that he's built throughout his life with his family's music as well. And dreams are real, true, Lizard Tree.
And I will say, be careful chasing money.
True that.
Be careful chasing money. You know, chase your dreams. Learn to live within your means. I think I started this whole conversation off was be comfortable in your skin. Be comfortable with what you have, and then you're not gonna have to go out and get things to make you feel comfortable. If you're comfortable with what you have and you're not chasing money, you're chasing your dreams, I think that's a great way to bookend this conversation.
Fact.
Very, very, very consistent.
No, that's real. That is real, man. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think a lot of folks think that you have to be end up as LeBron James to have had a satisfactory or a successful, accomplished life in making music or art. And I think you and I are both examples of, like, you don't have to be a millionaire to have done a ton of amazing things.
To feel like a millionaire.
To feel like a millionaire.
Right? You don't need a million. You don't need to be a millionaire to feel like a millionaire.
Truth. And I think you don't even need to be a millionaire to experience the millionaire lifestyle on a couple of occasions. I think you and I have both had. So, and just from doing art, right? I mean.
Yep.
Yeah, I really appreciate you and your point of view. You're welcome back here anytime. I appreciate you subscribing today. I was gonna shame you when you came on and be like, despite being my friend, you're not subscribed. I know you ain't paying attention to that. I don't even know if he knew he had as many subscribers as he actually does. By the way, audience, he's a big YouTuber.
No, I do. I just need to do more content. If anyone on Discord has ideas of stuff they want to see, just hit me up.
Nice. You have a Discord?
Yeah, I do.
Oh man, this is where. Hold on a second. If you put it in, can you put it in this chat? Do you have your Discord link in this chat?
Yeah, I don't know where the hell is this chat at?
Well, I'll tell you what. If you email it to me, I'll put it in the about. I'm also gonna.
Well, isn't it Burt Blackrack? I mean, it's Burt Blackrack.
Is it?
My display name is Burt Blackrack. My username is Burt Blackrack.
I don't. If your server
for my username.
Oh, okay, so it's. But I still have to get the invite for the link. So don't worry about it. I'll work it out. I'll go be a member and then send an invite link to to my audience. Awesome, though, man. I really appreciate you. You're more than welcome to come back anytime. And
absolutely, mate. You all be safe.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh,
I hope.
All right, we'll talk soon, Aaron.
Righteous. Thank you so much, man. Have a great evening, and say hi to everybody for me.
Yeah, I will. Thank you. I appreciate the invite.
My
we'll
pleasure.
Talk soon.
All right. Peace, yo.
Okay. All right. Late.
Good night. And that, my friends, was Burt Bacharach, a.k.a. Amani Smith, longtime friend, colleague, and one of the more amazing music supervisors that one can find, as his knowledge and depth and involvement with music behind the scenes, alongside his family, and so much more, just goes back decades. And it's also a reminder that being in the arts, creating your own life, creating your own persona, having accomplishments, don't always get known by the world. You don't always end up the most famous person in the room. And you don't have to, because as he said, if you end up chasing money, oftentimes the art will suffer, or maybe you won't experience the things that you really want when it comes to that. But those of us who had the experience, and he said it well, don't chase the money, because the good work, well, it provides and it brings so much more when you're just earnestly creating art like Burt. So I would urge each and every one of you to take his mention of this to heart. It's not just hyperbole, it's real meaning, because art is life. Music is the soul. And we're all experiencing this life for a little bit of time. And the better we can make it for ourselves and others, well, the better it is. And with that, I remind you once again, as I do every show, if you see someone in a prison of their own making, a mental prison per se, whose bars are high, attached to the thing known as the obelisk, a huge funnel feeding a ben of a pyramid on top, crushing the spirit of all people. My pleasure, Lizard Tree. I know you'll put your hand out and extend the hope, the idea, the love and care, empathy for others, to say, you don't have to be in that mental prison. You can free yourself from all those bonds. It's pretty easy if you can allow it to be. It comes down to this, my friends. You just have to allow a simple statement to escape your lips. I think you know what it is. Look up. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Amani, Burt Bacharach, for joining today. I really appreciate you giving the time. It was a lot longer than it always is when it's an interview. A lot longer than I'd expected, but I appreciate you dealing with the technical spectacles and all of that as well. And I'll be back again. Looks like tomorrow, maybe the day afterwards. No, it's probably tomorrow. With more for all of you. And in fact, I think the next show is the Philosopher's Stoner. That should be fun. Wait till you find out what that is. Anyhow, if the world is getting you down, or you see somebody else buried by its weight, be the help. Be the hope. Be the change. And make sure to let them know when the bar comes in low to look up. Have a great day, y'all. Be safe or have fun, whichever comes first, or both. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. Click.